Today I would like to share with you the secret of why I am a Prepsteader. Stick around. One of the questions I'm asked most often is, what is a Prepsteader and why are you a Prepsteader? And I want to answer both of those kind of from my heart today, if you just don't mind. Now, obviously, those are a marriage of two words, prepper and homesteader or steader. And what do they mean? Well, let's just take prepper to start with, okay? And I'll tell you why I'm a prepper. Truth be known, I am scared spitless. Did you know that fearlessness and courage and boldness does not come naturally to me at all? In fact, I'll lead you back to a time a few years ago I'll never forget. I was raised in Oregon on a beautiful ranch up in the high desert mountains, is what it's called up there. And lightning strikes often in the summer, right when the grasses are that perfect golden color because they are so dry. And they're only broken up by the beautiful green sagebrush that grows in kind of that desert climate in the mountains. Well, one day in the middle of an afternoon, a thunderstorm came through with no rain, but plenty of lightning, and struck a sagebrush patch out in the middle of our field. Now, we live in a log cabin that in a way feels like you're living in a box of kindling if a fire got close. And immediately, myself and my siblings got very terrified. I mean, I lost it. I was so freaked out. Thankfully, Dad and Mom and all of us had seen it right out the window as it happened. Dad brought it to our attention, but my father, his career has been an emergency room doctor. And I'll tell you, he was the perfect one for that, because there's something about an emergency that makes him, instead of panicking, he goes into this calm mode where he tries to just think slowly and specifically what is the next right thing to do. And so quickly he moved, but in a deep state of calm where I'm over there hyperventilating. We all went out and got buckets and took the truck down to the spot and immediately started with our buckets of water and blankets, wet blankets, getting that put out because we live about 45 minutes from any kind of fire truck that might come and help us. And they did arrive eventually, but we had gotten the worst of it out before it got anywhere near the house. What I learned from that, though, is that there are several ways you can handle a crisis or perceive something as a crisis, whether it is in that moment. My dad had practice. He had a lifetime of training himself how to handle emergencies. So when lightning strikes and causes a fire that the wind is blowing toward your house of kindling, he knew just what to do of going into calm movement mode where I was over there stymied, just frozen in fear. So it challenged me to change how I look at things and a desire to become more of a prepper myself. Not just for, oh, if the world ends, but for any kind of crisis. And so slowly but surely, I have trained myself since that time to learn how to handle small and big emergencies with a whole different mindset. Now, later, a few years after that, I got a chance to volunteer with the Red Cross when Hurricane Katrina struck. And if any of you remember that, it was a terrible time of tragedy for thousands of people. And many of them were hoping that FEMA would show up and the government would show up and offer them relief. But it didn't get there in time. Not necessarily because they didn't want to or didn't have enough resources, but when a crisis is so widespread and there are so many people, there's simply no way that even the best trained governmental agency can get to you as quick as you would like them to. Okay, now I want to go on to why I'm a steader, or a homesteader if you'd like to call it. If you take the word stead, you'll notice in the dictionary it means to stay. It means to stay in one place, almost like you're setting down roots. You're building something where you are. You're not quickly moving on like a nomad. It's kind of the opposite of a nomad. Well, what is a steader anyway? When we think of a homesteader, we could literally imagine someone with a farm or someone who sets up an elaborate place to live with animals and and kids and grandkids and everything else. And when I look back in history, it's kind of interesting. One of the perfect examples that I ran across was Noah. He was a prepper and a steader, and I'll tell you why. He was given a call by God to build an ark for a first-time rain to ever come to the earth, a deluge, a flood, that he had no idea what that even meant probably, but he knew that it was coming. Do you know that he had to prepare that ark as he was told? So he was truly a prepper, but he had to also stead. He had to stay in one place for you know how long before the rain came, even the first time? 100 years. He had 100 years of life, of marriage, of having kids and grandkids, of being involved in people's lives and in his community. He had to keep living. He had things to do and places to go, and he had to stay where he was and abide there and make a conscious effort to keep living while he was preparing for 100 years. Now, I hope none of you have to prepare that long or stead that long. It would be a blessing for any of us to even live that long. But my point is this: we are not supposed to just drop everything and prepare for eternity right now and not realize that we live on the earth. We've got to stay put and live fully where we are. We've got to be faithful with the callings that are on our lives and the work we've been given to do and the divine appointments that are set for you specifically, because you have important things you are supposed to do while you have time and youth and energy to do them. So do them now, and don't stress out about the future so much that you lose sight of the present, all right? So the Prepsteader is someone who prepares for the future by learning from the past, but living in the present. Do you get it? That's why I'm a Prepsteader. Now, I want to give you just a couple of scriptures that go along with this that I thought were so good. Luke 19. If you look at Luke 19, verses 12 through 26, Jesus is essentially telling us to occupy ourselves with work and living and worship and planting and harvesting clear until he comes, whether that's in our lifetime or centuries, decades, eons from now. We are supposed to abide right now where we're at. That's the perfect definition of steadying. Just in case you are a hardcore prepper and really have made that your focus, I do want to remind you of this one thing, and that is that Scripture tells us that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And if you think about that truth, that means that every other kind of fear is just a distraction. Don't be distracted by the fears that are going to come up all around us continually in the days to come. Remember that the fear of the Lord is the only one that matters and is the beginning of wisdom. I want to leave you with this. It's a scripture out of Psalm 27, which if you know me, you know that's my very favorite. The last verse of that psalm, though, says some words that kind of are like the perfect instructions for how a Prepsteader should live. It's in verse 14, and it says this: wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage, and wait, I say, for the Lord. When I read that verse, all I can think of is it's the perfect instructions when I don't know what to do. Instead of getting in a frenzy that thinks, oh no, there's a crisis at hand, and losing my ability to make wise choices and decisions in that moment. No, wait until wisdom comes to you and you'll know exactly what to do and take quick action, but know when to wait to receive it in a crisis. Wait for the Lord and be strong and bold and courageous. Look to the past and learn from all the stories we have throughout history, but learn to live in the present with the exact set of circumstances you have in front of you. You are meant for this moment to know how to handle it, and you will, as you seek the Lord and ask for his wisdom to guide you in this moment. All right, I hope you take the time to share this episode with a friend that you love that will be encouraged by it. And of course, you know I'm going to say, I hope you go out right now today and find someone that you can be a blessing to. And I say, God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.